Well, originally today I was supposed to be doing the review of the Ruined King game, but it is December and real life is difficult, so that will come later, which means that instead we can have a look at the new story of Malzahar. Because just like the previous story with Sejuani and Volibear, there is the small chance that this one too may be teasing what will happen in the next preseason cinematic. Yes, Malzahar technically could be there. However, it is more likely that in the story we are going to cover today, Riot may be teasing the next confirmed Voidy champion. Now of course, right now some people may be freaking out because Malzahar never really got his own story. This is his premiere. So just in case you forgot, Malzahar was a seer from Shurima. He had an ability that is often called Second Sight. Second Sight allowed him to predict future. So he was able to tell what would happen in a gambling game, or he was able to tell who would marry whom. But there was a catch. He was never able to see his own future. His own destiny was a mystery. Eventually he ended up in Icathia, which by now was already ruined by the Void. And that's where he learned that not only is life pretty horrible, with all the gambling and suffering, but he also learned that the answer to those problems is the Void. He saw that the only way to turn Runeterra into a nice place would be to speed up its way into oblivion. That's why Malzahar is such a crazy Void-corrupted seer. He essentially wants to destroy everything so that life doesn't suck. That's it. So now, let's have a look at the new story that really enhanced his character. And because it is not too long, we can read it word for word. So here's the story, Feast of the Prophet. Mir follows a crowd of cultists out of the Prophet's tent city, and down into a low valley at the edge of the desert. He's unsure if this was the right decision. Beyond the outcropping of rock where tonight's ceremony will be held is he's not sure how to describe it other than a hole, descending deep beneath the Shuriman sands, and into an emptiness that is both growing and alive. Throughout the day, these cultists throw livestock into the hole. They throw each other into the hole. Sometimes they throw themselves into the hole. And from what Mir is told, the hole responds by growing steadily larger, so cultists can throw more animals and more people down into it, and it can keep growing. And the awful pattern can repeat itself until the hole is so large that something big falls in. A city, maybe. Like Nashrame, he mutters. Though even if the entire state toppled in, ports and all, it would barely graze the sides. He caught a glimpse of the hole earlier. It's too big to be real, and yet, no one knows this is here, thinks Mir. But he's smart enough to keep this to himself. He cannot risk these people turning on him, although he uses the word people lightly. Some of them have a deep lavender glint behind the eyes that seems to spread over their faces in veiny twisting patterns, and they mutter constantly about Icathia or something called the Void. He cannot go back home. He's not even sure if his home still exists. Yet he cannot flee anywhere but further south, where the land turns grey and things named after old storybook monsters squirm across the rocks. Mir must keep running. If he stops, Noxus will find him, and because he struck an officer, they will kill him. "Have you come to see the Prophet?" one man asks him, as the crowds shuffle into an open area similar to a theater stage. His skin shifts sickeningly beneath a tattered cloak. Mir sees some of the man's teeth moving inside his mouth. "Yes," Mir replies, knowing the cultists won't let him through without hearing one of their ceremonies. The man laughs. "You are new! New to the nameless city, like many others. Some seek the Prophet, others seek nothing. It is all the same." He motions to his face, which glows faintly in the night air. "Do not be worried, my friend. Soon you will understand. The Prophet will show you." The evening stars, black and yawning and somehow closer than before, wink ominously above the crowd's makeshift lanterns. Beyond the light there is the desert. Beyond that is the hole. And on the other side of the hole, freedom. Mir can almost taste it. Shurima is being swallowed up from three sides. In the north, Noxus spreads along the coast like a cancer, claiming everything from vast city-states to farming settlements of a dozen souls. In the ancient capital, the long-dead, now supposedly living again, Emperor Azir is set to prepare for an inevitable war. And in the southeast, well, this is the southeast. These people are eating it. There has to be something beyond the hole, down along the grey, lifeless coasts, at the southernmost tip of the Icathian Peninsula. A smuggler's port, or maybe a stop-off for fishing ships from Bilgewater? Mir could catch a boat, start over again in the Serpent Isles, and then... Stop thinking! Threatens the broken-faced man. Mir looks up and sees a dozen pairs of shattered glowing eyes looking back at him. Your thoughts are loud, be silent! The man points out to the outcropping, now the pulpit of an emaciated figure. Malzahar has come. The prophet is covered in scarves and cloaks, crudely marked with the symbols of old Icathia. His feet are bare, his hands seemingly frozen in a rigor mortis grip, as though he were trying to fend off some kind of a monstrous creature. His face is obscured by a long violet wrap, and his head. Mir feels something like a drill being driven into his brain. He had looked for maybe a half a second into the prophet's face, and seen within his forehead something shifting? No, that can't be right. Malzahar's entire skull was thin, fleshy, webbing, with something horrible inside. A light within a light, pulsating outward, spreading, hungry. My children, says Malzahar. Though his voice is not a voice at all, it's a projection inside of Mir's thoughts, an extension of the prophet's unlight that is slick, glistening and wrong. Mir has to get out of here, but he can't run. The cultists are packed in too tightly, and he would never make it around the great hole before they caught him and tossed him down. Tonight is a night of confession. Now it's too late. Malzahar sees Mir. Mir is not sure how, but amid the crowd of hundreds, the prophet's gaze rips through him, holding his body in place. Mir cannot even let out a whimper. Ah, newcomer, says Malzahar. Then let this be your awakening. There are flashes within Mir's mind, an enormous shape, looming behind the prophet and filling the entire night sky. Buildings, or something like buildings, but inverted and crooked beneath a vast, unnatural ocean. Thousands of voracious creatures swarming in schools, so large they block even the dappled light from the not sun, creating their own currents in the not water. And a name that dances across the grooves of his brain like an acrobat. Elusive, but on the edge of realization. Believers, Malzahar continues, I have always told you that the end is certain. The void will come, and wash away the world and all its miseries. And with it, each and every one of you. Mir's mind is ripping itself apart. Thoughts snap in and out so quickly, he can barely track what he's experiencing. Wings, spiders the size of wolves, a figure floating beneath Shurima, a confrontation. He sees Noxus consumed by an impossible wave of creatures, the immortal bastion cracking grotesquely before falling into their mass. Ice breaking, things tumbling upwards and out. He sees Malzahar again, shadowed by a shape too large. Why is it so large? Why is she... But we are all changed by our experiences, are we not? I watched my parents die in Amakra, waste away to illness. Yet they are not gone. Their memories serve a purpose, and the imprint they left on me made me who I am. And what I am made you. The shape looms larger. It's not physical, no. But Mir's mind holds desperately onto anything it can. Something to anchor himself and escape the prophet's suffocating weight. The void has tasted their memories, and it wants more. The cultists throw their arms upwards, and the stars wink closer than ever before. Mir must hold on. Freedom is just beyond the chasm. He tries to think, but the words drain from his mind. Before him, Before them all is Malzahar. There is nothing else. The void has embraced a new form, a new possibility. I once saw the world end, in the absence of light and darkness, the totality of nothing, and that was wrong. So tonight, to you, to all my children I confess, the void has spoken, and now beneath her sea of lavender she wants you, your memories, your experiences, existence. She wants everything. Mir only begins to run when the ground gives way under his feet. The chasm's sudden expansion swallows them all. The tent city, the cultists, everything, as Malzahar floats above, watching them all pour down into the throbbing, animated nothing. And, the prophet concludes, she will have it. Some of the cultists freeze midair. Darkly luminous corals burst from their skin before they are sucked into the undulating walls of the hole. More are torn limb from limb by fast-moving schools of strange iridescent fish. Others lose a scream before vanishing completely, as though suddenly erased. Mir's memories, like the stars above, wink out one by one as he falls faster and faster. The Noxian invasion, his hand striking an officer, his family, his friends, his childhood, his dreams. He drifts down beneath the lavender sea, past strange inverted buildings, jutting awkwardly from the light-dappled nothingness beyond the void's hideous living sky. And he catches a glimpse of something massive on the verge of being born. As his memories fade, the shape seems to move, responding to this new source of sustenance, growing stronger as Mir, the cultists, the animals, the tents, as they all fade away, erased utterly from the gentle shores of reality, repurposed into something terrible and new. A man once named Mir closes his eyes, emptied of all things. He touches the bottom of the void, and then he is gone. And that was the story Feast of the Prophet. Now, in the past, we had a couple of stories that predicted champions months before those champions were even revealed. This happened to champions like Yone, being teased in Yasuo's new story months before Spirit Blossom, or more famously, Rel was even named in Samira's story months before Rel was ever revealed. So since in the past, stories did actually reveal champions before their actual reveals, it is extremely likely that this story confirmed the next Void champion. Once again, Riot did confirm that one of the new upcoming champions will be related to the Void. And since this creature, which Malzahar summoned into Runeterra by sacrificing a lot of people, is entirely new, I really don't think this is Rek'Sai, even though the monster is called She. It is more likely that this is gonna be the next Voidy champion. Although it is strange to see that once again we are getting a female Void champion. I'm not talking about Kaisa right now, but yeah, previously that was Rek'Sai's thing. It's kinda a shame that maybe the next champion will walk into that territory, but I'm still fine with it. As long as that creature looks monstrous, that's all I really wanted. And out of all champions, it is awesome to see that Malzahar might be connected to the next champion. As far as we know, the next champion should be the one based on the blueprint, then we are getting the Camp Baron, and after that we should get this Voidy champion. However, there is one more thing. This story also teases the fact that, inevitably, the Void will attack Noxus. Mir even described very specific scenes. So I wonder if this is actually also teasing the next big event. But if that's the case, this one might happen far in the future. Because right now, in the Freljord, Sejuani is teasing a big battle with Volibear, but she's also teasing the fact that all the Freljordian tribes might have to band together, because some great evil is coming. Now, since the Freljord is also heavily linked to the Void, maybe what's happening in the Freljord and what is currently happening in Shurima are two linked events. So overall, it seems like finally the Void is going to get some love. And hopefully, this PlayStation 1 character will be updated.